Are the Wolves still a defensive team, Legs? That's the question. They might be an offensive team. We're going to talk about that on today's show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, how you doing today?
Good, man. I'm good. Good. Big slate last night. Some really interesting scores, some interesting games, some big-time team performances. Big wins from some road teams last night as well.
Yeah. These two games were interesting. In part because they feel like something of even matchups, relatively even matchups. You feel like the teams are in the same category. And so we got a couple of those. There's also some other games I want to talk about, including I got to keep raving about Cason Wallace. Your guy, Jonathan Kuminga, went off. So we're going to talk about that and a couple other guys. But why don't we start with our FanDuel game breakdown? Get right into this one. This one, of course, presented by FanDuel. Use our promo code AllNBA. And we're going to talk about the Lakers game. The Lakers falling to the Orlando Magic. I feel like this is a horrible loss for the Lakers, and the way it happened down the stretch was even worse. One, you give up the offensive rebound. Wendell Carter Jr. gets the putback in the clutch with 6 seconds to go. But two, that last play, Legs, to me, you could write it off as just, sometimes there's a bad play in the clutch. But to me, it feels even more than that. Luka gets the ball. He gets the ball in that situation, he just makes a shot. He gets a shot up. He does something to generate a shot. I felt like he froze a little bit in the moment. I'm not saying from fear, but I felt like he got confused or just off rhythm and kind of throws LeBron James a grenade at the buzzer and just said, "Here, you take the tough shot." Did you find that as bizarre as I did?
Here's okay. Let me talk about that last play first. And here's what's interesting about this game. Some games I find more interesting than others. So from the time it was 93-all with about 7 minutes to go, I wrote down 27 different separate notes that took place in the last 7 minutes of the game. Let's talk about the last play first, right? Because that's what a lot of people are going to
That's 4 notes a minute, just so everybody knows. 4 notes per minute of game clock you took for this game.
Yeah, because there's a lot of – here's what's crazy about this game overall. I thought the teams competed – but I don't think it was particularly well-played game. I don't think that there were great decisions. There was missed free throws. There were turnovers at inopportune times. And there were some defensive breakdowns, not necessarily because of lack of effort, because of lack of communication or strategy issues, I thought. So I don't think it was particularly well-played, but it was a really good game, compelling game, close game, had a lot of drama to it. Both teams wanted to win this pretty badly. Let's focus on that. So the first thing I want to talk about is when did we get into this era of the half-court sideline out of bounds with a bunch of dudes all the way in the backcourt running into position?
You don't like this?
Not really.
Football formation?
Yeah, not really. And like I understand sometimes they put one guy back there, or I've seen a lot of this.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of this. Teams will put 2 guys back there and then basically try to play 2-on-2 in the front court to get open. The problem that I always have with it is it's not 2-on-2 because the guy guarding the inbounder counts as a defender if he sags off. So now you really have 2 guys trying to get open against 3. And you know how many times I've seen teams line up like that and have to burn a timeout because they can't get the ball in.
Right.
I just feel like the all 4 guys in the front court with some design, screening, and cutting has worked pretty well to this point historically. And now we're at this point. And this was really extreme because I actually froze the screen, Adam, because I wanted to see if what I was seeing was accurate. LeBron James was taking the ball out of bounds in the front court, 10 seconds to go in the game. And I believe it was 10. No, I'm sorry. 6.7 seconds to go in the game. LeBron James was about to take the ball from the official. And I froze the screen, like the TV, as if you're watching at home. There was nobody else in the picture because all of those guys were in the backcourt.
I know.
On his team. Now,
I love that you hate this so much.
And they started running, and all 4 guys come running across half court. Ayton and Luka and Reaves and all these guys are running up to get into position. And the referee still hadn't handed LeBron the ball. So now they're over half court. They're like running into their spots. And I don't know if that was by design. Like they wanted JJ Redick wanted them to start running before the ball was given to LeBron. I don't know.
Maybe gives you more time.
Maybe it just gives it, I think what he's trying to do is like create less of a situation where teams could set up knowing where Luka was going to be because they wanted to deny him the ball. And clearly Luka's going to touch the ball in that situation. I guess that's the only explanation for why you would do that. But Luka's so big and strong, I feel like he's going to catch the ball no matter what.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is a concern if you don't have a size or somebody big to inbound it, but that's not the case with the Lakers. They have multiple guys that should be able to get open pretty easily in a pinch.
Shouldn't be tough. It really shouldn't. And actually, even the guy you're going to use as a screener, Ayton, if teams jump out on Luka or LeBron or Reaves, whoever's coming off that screen, he's such a danger to slip to the middle, and he's such a good offensive player. He could end up with a little shot in the lane or a 15-footer. But listen, they want to get the ball to Luka. We get it. They did get the ball to Luka. And he immediately ran like a little – the screen he came off of from Ayton, he caught the ball, and he goes to his patented step back going left. The shot was there.
I know. I don't know why he didn't take it.
So and here's the only thing I think. If you go back and look at it, because of the way the Lakers set this play up, and even LeBron, where he inbounded the ball, his man sort of jumped toward the ball. When Luka caught it, there were 9 players of the 10 on that side of the court. So as Luka started to go into a step back, now I definitely think he could have gotten the shot off. It would have been like a step back, probably 28 to 30-foot shot. Very makeable for him. For whatever reason, he burned that one dribble, went to the step back, picked it up, didn't want to shoot it. I don't know why exactly, but now he's really in trouble because he's picked the ball up. Now the defender gets all over him. So the only thing he had, and I don't think he didn't want to shoot it. Luka Doncic has never been afraid of a moment. He wanted to shoot it. Why he didn't, I don't know. And I didn't hear him post-game. If they asked him about that, I didn't see the post-game remarks because that's the first question I'm asking is, why didn't you let that fly? Because it's a shot he takes all the time. He didn't want it for whatever reason. Now it goes back to LeBron on the sideline with all this traffic over there, and all he's left with is this spinning fadeaway three-pointer that wasn't really close at the buzzer. And he caught the ball with 2.9 seconds, 3 seconds to go.
No time to do anything.
The problem is where he caught it and the fact that there was so much traffic over there on both teams. There was no spacing for him to try to, get by him and get to the rim or shoot a pull-up. He took the only shot that was there. It's a terrible end-of-game possession by the Lakers to end up with that shot when you've got that much offensive talent. That's a really poor executed offensive possession. And as a result, the Magic get a win on the road, and they went 3 out of 4 on the trip, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves getting that one.
The other thing about that last possession that's indicative of the Lakers for me is it feels weirdly, you have a big 3 in LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reaves. It feels weirdly like none of them are getting the right role, the right amount of role, because it's almost as if all of them are sacrificing 25%, when I think it might be better if one of the guys is sacrificing 50% and the other 2 get to be who they are. Because that's kind of one of the feelings I got of this is that Austin Reaves, not as effective or as frequent a usage as you would expect. Luka being passive and almost not understanding how aggressive to be. LeBron was the one I thought actually looked the most comfortable of all the guys last night, but even he in these big moments, you could tell it's like, okay, who's supposed to take over? So that's my thought is they try to split the difference with all 3 guys, and I just don't know if that's going to work in today's NBA. Somebody has to sacrifice more than the rest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be Luka's show if Luka's on the floor, and Luka was still the dominant guy down the stretch, and he made some really big shots. He made some tough shots. But the thing with the Lakers, offensively, I don't worry about them as much. Now, they're not a great shooting team, but they've got no other team in the league has 3 guys on this level that can basically control a defense with their ability to handle a run ball screen or get by you or control it and find you. Nobody's got 3 guys on this level. If Austin Reaves is your 3rd best guy at facilitating offense, like who else has a guy that good? Nobody. So they've got enough there. They've got some role players around them. They don't have enough shooting, which is a concern. My bigger problem with them, and it reared itself in some really important situations in this game, their defensive breakdowns, because they end up in bad situations when they switch. And I don't even think that they were on the same page with some of their switches. And as a result, guys were able to either beat guys off the dribble and get to their spot. They had some weird possessions where they had 5 guys back after a free throw, and Orlando came up and made like one pass, and someone just cut to the middle and caught the ball right in front of the rim. Like, that just shouldn't happen when you've got 5 guys back and the ball's in front of you. You should be able to communicate that, take away cuts, execute your switches a little bit better. Both guys involved in a screen should be on the same page with their switching. And they had a lot of breakdowns in this game that really cost them late, including the one you mentioned, the last bucket by Orlando, like the Wendell Carter basket, was created by an offensive rebound by Anthony Black. And if you go back and look at it, Banchero takes the shot. And listen, Austin Reaves has got one of the highest IQs in the league. He's tough. He's gritty. He does all those things. That's Austin Reaves, flat out. He's got Anthony Black on the wing as his responsibility. He turns to watch Banchero take this pull-up jumper. And as he turns to look at the ball, Anthony Black sprints from the three-point line right behind his back. The ball comes exactly where he ran to, whereas if Austin Reaves chips him just a little bit at the three-point line on a block out, there's no way Anthony Black comes up with that ball. Yeah. Instead, he does. Then, of course, he gets stripped. It's a loose ball. Carter picks it up, lays it in. But it's the details and the attention to detail on that end of the floor that ultimately, to me, are what's going to be the Lakers' undoing in the postseason whenever that happens. If they lose to one of these top teams, whether it's OKC or Denver or San Antonio or Houston, whoever it may be, if they lose a series to one of those teams, that to me is what we're going to be talking about. Their defense, and particularly at winning time, needs to be better than it was certainly last night against the Magic. There were multiple opportunities to make a play and probably secure, and they weren't able to do it.
And the players talking about the rebound, those plays are like just hustle, marginal focus plays, and there are guys that almost focus. It's like their role is that. I think Anthony Black does a great job of these things. That's one of the reasons I love him, is he just gives that kind of effort all the time. Wendell Carter too, and then the last play, it was just a not quitting on the play. The ball ended up bouncing an awkward way, getting tipped and fell to Wendell Carter, but it was that he gave himself a chance by going full bore in that at that moment. And then they add a guy like Javon Carter, who I think is this as well. The Magic have those pieces, and that's one of the things about the Magic that feels so tragic this year, which is that they have all of the hustle stuff. They have some of the defensive stuff. What they don't always have is the cohesion on the offensive end. But last night, Paolo Banchero was the player that he is maybe every 10 games where you go, okay, that's why you never quit on him. 36 points on 12 of 22 shooting, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And Legs, he took the same shots he always takes, which is to say not shots I love. He just happened to make them all in that third quarter. A ton of pull-up mid-range jumpers and just tough buckets, and he was on fire.
He was. And he you're right. There are nights you watch him and you get a little frustrated because of his inefficiency. But
most nights, in my opinion.
I hear you. I don't know if I'd say most nights. I think I like him probably more nights than you do, but it's not like I'm not seeing the things that you're talking about. The thing is, though, no matter how you feel about him, there are nights you watch him and you go, this guy is a problem. He's a load.
Last night he was awesome.
Because he's so big. He's so big. I mean, when you see him in person, like, you don't realize like how powerfully built he is at 6'10", but he's agile and he's got the ability to make mid-range shots, to make deep shots. Some nights he's inefficient, doesn't shoot well, and you're like watching this guy go, man, I don't know. Like, and you come up with other comparisons. Like last night, you watch him and you're like, man, when he gets the matchup he wants, it's a smaller guy and he goes into that little spin that he loves for a pull-up 15-footer. There's nothing you can do about it. If he gets a bigger guy on him like he did against Ayton at a really important time in the game last night, and I didn't think they needed to switch, by the way. It's one of those unnecessary switches I talked about all the time. He had a huge three-point play opportunity against Ayton, but Hachimura was guarding him. And his screen was set at like 30 feet. And it wasn't even like a really well-intentioned screen. It was like a brush screen. But they're saying to themselves, switch everything. Well, I don't know that you need to. That's putting yourself at a disadvantage. Now you got Ayton out on the perimeter guarding Banchero from the three-point line. He took him hard to the baseline, spun back to the middle. There's no way Ayton laterally is going to be able to stay with that. And then Banchero gets a little 6-foot jump hook to go and gets fouled. He missed a free throw, but it was a huge play in the game.
His only miss, yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge play in the game. And it's created because the Lakers have this, okay, we're switching everything. And then Magic know that. So Banchero gets to pick who he wants to play against on that possession, and he gets to the paint. But it shows you the versatility of his game. For a guy that big to play a combination of power and also has this mid-range game to go to and a decent handle, he put it on display, and he showed you why, he has that kind of talent a lot of nights.
When he makes the shots like that, man, it looks really good. Anybody else on the Magic side that you thought stood out or was noteworthy? Jonathan Isaac made some defensive plays. Is there anybody else that you think is worth a mention?
Yeah, Wendell Carter was fantastic in this game.
Yeah, he was.
He looked like a much more accomplished offensive player in this game than he is most nights. And you look at his season numbers, and they're not going to, blow you away. 11 points, 7 boards. He had 20 points, 11 boards last night. And it was the way in which he got to 20. Like, he had some dives where he was so quick to the rim off the catch and athletically finishing over the rim. Even the last play, by the way, he got hammered by Luka on that layup with no call. I mean, it was probably the most contact I saw in the entire game at the rim on the layup that Carter made. Luka Doncic trying to take his right arm off. And he still put it in. So Carter stood out to me because he was presenting a real problem for the Lakers throughout the game they couldn't solve. He was, I don't think, something that they probably prepared for him to be that good, that aggressive, that effective offensively. But he found himself in the middle of everything that they did in all of their big runs and their big plays. So, yeah, he definitely jumped out to me.
Well, the Magic win 3 of 4 on a 4-game West Coast road trip. They beat Sacramento, the Clippers, and the Lakers. And they dropped to the Phoenix Suns in overtime. So they very nearly went 4-0, which is, kind of important for them. They're in the standings right now, basically tied at that. They're a half game back of the 6th seed with the 76ers. So there's still hope they can crawl out of the play-in and then have a little bit of a comfortable lead on the 9 seed Atlanta Hawks, 5 games. So they're hanging by a thread. They do have a tough schedule as they get home. They have Houston and Detroit back-to-back coming up. Which is kind of a tough homestand, but we'll see how they fare. On the other side, though, Legs, the Lakers are just 4-4 on an 8-game homestand. First of all, how the heck do you get an 8-game homestand? What a luxury it is to get 8 games in a row at home. And this is their 3rd clutch time loss of the year. It's the first time they've lost when leading heading into the 4th quarter. They were up 1 point going into the 4th. First time they've lost. But the thing for me is they just do not have good wins on the season. You can just go across and look at their schedule, narrow wins against mediocre teams, blowout wins against bad teams, and losses every time to the good teams. And if you get physical against them, they will. I don't even think the Magic are a great team, but I do wonder if physicality bothers them, and in particular bothers Austin Reaves. He looks phenomenal some nights, and some nights he can get bottled up. I thought this was one of them.
I think that's a fair point about their wins, and you're not overstating it. You can just go back and look. I mean, their last 10, 12 wins, the Clippers, Dallas, both at home. Clippers isn't a terrible win, but you win that game by 3, and they're a different team after the trading deadline. Yeah. Dallas, Golden State decimated by injuries. You get Philly at home by 4, Brooklyn, Washington, Chicago, Dallas, Denver. January 20th, they got the Nuggets by 8. That's certainly a quality win, no matter who plays for Denver. That's a good win. Toronto, back-to-back wins. And then it goes right back again. Atlanta, New Orleans, Memphis, Sacramento, Utah. I mean, this is the list of wins, their last wins. So I think it's a fair point. You're never going to completely look at the Lakers, at least for me, and just go, oh, they've got no shot to be interesting because of what they've got at the top of that roster. And their record in close games speaks for itself. Like, if they're in a close game, they got a pretty good chance because they've got Luka, they've got LeBron, they got Austin Reaves, they've got guys that can make plays at important times. Now, I don't trust their defense in those situations, but their record speaks for itself in close games. So you're not gonna dismiss them. But man, it certainly would be nice if going forward, they get some of these teams they've got coming up. Even at Phoenix, that would be a quality win. Denver. March 5th are at Denver. Like, win that game. The Knicks at home on March 8th. Minnesota on the 10th. Like, these are games coming up that I think could help change the narrative if you're able to win those games, particularly if you're able to get it done defensively late to secure a win. Get that stop when you have to have it, which they were not able to do last night.
Well, the last thing about them in the clutch and just how good of a team are they is I don't know what their best five is. And I think this is one of the things that seems a little bit strange is they close games. You go to basically your starting lineup. You say, okay, this is who we close with. But that lineup has been a net negative this year. Do you have a sense of what their best part of this is, again, that your big three doesn't necessarily fit together perfectly because they all do great things, but somebody has to be out the way. But that closing lineup has just been a net negative all year. Ayton, LeBron, Luka, Smart, Reaves. It's been a net negative. Is that a big concern for you?
Yeah, I think it is a concern for me. Again, I think defensively that group's going to have some issues. Ayton is a guy that when he's put in bad switch situations is a problem for you defensively, and he's not going to be very physical in the paint. Luka, obviously, you're constantly feel like you're trying to protect Luka and make sure he doesn't end up in a matchup that he doesn't want, and that leaves LeBron, Austin Reaves, Marcus Smart.
Yeah, it's not enough.
No, it's not. And I think, offensively, like, again, you put the ball in Luka's hands, game on the line. I mean, you got to feel like you have a decent chance. There is one thing that also concerns me about them offensively with that group. Do you find it kind of surprising? Luka Doncic in his entire career has never shot 80% from the foul line.
That's wow. Yeah, 80%.
Not even 80.
Yeah.
He had 79 one year. He was at 79.5 earlier this year when we did a game. And I'm thinking like, hey, maybe this is the year. I mean, I'm 80 for me, for a guy on that level is a low standard. You're talking about a guy like Luka Doncic who has the ball the entire game. He's in rhythm from the time the ball goes up in the air for an opening tip because he's going to have the ball the whole game. He can shoot when he wants. He does whatever he wants. And he's such an elite scorer, and he's been so good in clutch situations throughout his career. I don't know what that is. I don't really have a feel for why that would be. But he was 4 for 9 last night. That's why it kind of reared itself again. He's 77 on the year. He's never in an individual season shot 80% from the foul line. Do you find that surprising?
I do. I wouldn't have guessed it. I would have guessed he was just career higher than that, 85 or so. So a little surprising, leaving a lot of points on the board.
Now, last year in the playoffs, in only 5 games against Minnesota, he shot 89. So he shot well in that one series. But even in the postseason, the 4 postseason runs he had before that, 76, 77, 52, 65. So it's kind of always there for a guy that's got the ball that's going to have to decide games. Like, that is just another factor for them offensively. Is I don't know why that is. He's just too good a player. He's too great of an offensive player, and he's too good under pressure to let free throws hover there around 8%, and most years end up in the 70s. So I don't know. It's just something else that kind of jumped out to me. I say when at one point he missed 2 in a row. At the line, he missed 5 overall in the game. It's surprising to me. It's always kind of baffled me. Much like I said, I don't understand how Devin Booker is 35% for his career from the 3.
That one's more surprising to me.
It doesn't add up to me. His shooting stroke's too perfect. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just something about Luka also to look at for the Lakers. But I'd like to see them get some wins against these teams I mentioned coming up over the next 3 weeks. Win some of those games and do it in a certain fashion, I think, because they're basically 11-10 in their last 21 games.
I think that's who they are, though. I mean, this is my take, and I'll give you another stat for them. They're 16-12 at home. It's not a great home record. You just got 8 in a row at home, 8 in a row, and you go 4-4. Maybe this is who this team is. We'll find out because all the top teams in the West are playing each other here down the stretch, and we'll see if they're different than what I expect. But I kind of feel like I see what the Lakers' ceiling is this year. Let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to talk about another team who has a bit of a mystery ceiling, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I can't quit them, legs. They lose some horrible games, but when they win, I just am so impressed. So we're going to talk about an impressive win with them last night. You ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now It's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? How about now? Are you thinking about starting your own business or side hustle? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the All City merch store. You guys can hop in the merch store, man. We have really high quality merch there, by the way, but of course you'll be checking out using Shopify. Shopify has you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email, and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools that are designed to help you maximize sales. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. Make sure you hit the like button if you're enjoying it. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Legs and I are back on Friday. Legs will be calling a game. Are you calling it tonight?
Tonight,
yeah, you got it tonight. But there's some good games on Thursday. The NBA is back to making Thursday a marquee night in the NBA, so we'll have a lot of good games to talk about come Friday. Legs, last night, you said you weren't as into this game. Maybe it's just that I enjoy watching Minnesota, that I was into it, even though you're right that it wasn't particularly close at the final moments. But that's because Minnesota pulled away. They get the win 124-121. And this game got close. I think it was tied with 3 minutes to go, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, or it was 108-111. That's what it was, 108-111. And I thought that Portland did not get very good looks at all in the final 3 minutes, highlighted in particular by Toumani Camara, who's standing on the three-point line. This was like a big play, three minutes to go, big play. He gets it on the wing, and he just holds the ball for about 6 seconds before taking a no-dribble contested three-pointer with like 15 seconds on the clock. I just thought Portland got horrible shots down the stretch, and Minnesota took advantage and got out on the break.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think a couple things stood out to me in how Minnesota got this done. First of all, Rudy Gobert on the night won 4 for 5 from the field, but could he have possibly have had some of those baskets come at a bigger time? He was so good late in the game at cleaning everything up in the middle, because Anthony Edwards struggled, and he had a great first half, huge first half for Anthony Edwards. And then at one point, I think, 10 straight shots in the second half. And he was, going to the step back. He tried a couple of shorter shots on pull-ups, couldn't get anything to go. So they're going to their best offensive player like over and over, and he's trying to answer the bell to like basically, ice the game for Minnesota, because they had that margin where it's like, okay, they get 2 straight shots to go at any point, and in that last 6 minutes, the game's going to probably be over. It's going to be like 10. Instead, Portland was able to hang around. But Rudy Gobert was cleaning up those possessions when it was Anthony Edwards, or there was another drive, I think, by Jay McDaniels that missed, and Rudy Gobert's there to put everything back. So he was only had 5 shots, but he was 4 for 5 from the field, and then 19 rebounds in the game. I thought Rudy Gobert was sensational. I thought Jay McDaniels, for me, showed why he is such a needle mover, pendulum swinger for that team. When Jaden McDaniels, and he's had a lot more nights offensively that look really good this year than in the past. When he plays that well and he's shooting the ball that well, and he's like that factor on the corner 3, but he's also able to do other things offensively, and he's included the whole game. When he plays like that, that's when you look at Minnesota and go, yeah, man, I can see like it's still a path for them. To win it, I don't know about winning it. Winning the West, I don't know about that either.
Why not?
Could they be the last team standing against OKC or San Antonio or Denver, whoever it may be? I don't know that I'd pick them to win 3 straight series, but at the same time, your point right when we came on to talk about them, you're right. You forget about him sometimes. Then you watch him and you look at all the things they do, and you remember the last 2 postseason runs they had. You cannot sleep on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think Jaden McDaniels is a huge difference maker for them when he's that confident and aggressive and efficient offensively.
And more to the point, gets to touch the ball. Gets to be what he was last night. And here's what's interesting about them, Legs. They also have a similar situation to the Lakers in that they have 3 guys on the offensive end that are all deserving probably of being featured in some way. Anthony Edwards is a lock. You're going to feature him. Although I want to talk about him wearing down in this game because I think that's what happened. But then you have Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels, and that's the order. Well, last night, Julius Randle, and I've seen this too many times. I love watching the Timberwolves, so I watch him a lot. Julius Randle gets into foul trouble early, and it's almost like the hierarchy switches. Because he's in foul trouble, I have to be a little more conservative, so I'm just going to get off ball. Like, this is a very quiet game from Julius Randle, not just in what he did, but also he wasn't very aggressive. He kind of just played team ball, like, okay, I got to stay out of foul trouble. And it allowed, in my opinion, for guys like Jaden McDaniels to get more shooting opportunities, and he goes 12 of 16. I kind of wonder if that's the dynamic this team needs. They need a little bit less from Julius Randle because he's not a true number 2, in my opinion, for this team. He's more of one of the other guys and a very good option of the other guys. But when he reduces his role, guys like Jaden McDaniels get to expand it, and I like that trade-off.
I agree with that, man, and particularly the way that Jaden McDaniels has shot the ball this year. I mean, you're talking about he's now turned himself into a mid-40s three-point shooter. That's incredible from where he was at the beginning of his career. When he was mostly just like this really long wing that could guard, and every now and then, he'd slash and get dunks or get something in transition, but you didn't have to worry about him as much from the 3. Now, like, he makes you pay, particularly on those corner shots, and he waits it out. And I don't know that you need to necessarily feature him more at beginning of possessions because I don't know that he's got enough in his handle and creativity to do that. But for him to be somebody that, like, they're focused on making sure they know where he is to get him shots when teams are over-focused on Anthony Edwards or Julius Randle draws to the fact that they're, I think, more cognizant of him and that they need him to be aggressive and let it fly. I think that's important for their team. And then, you think about it, he's been around a long time. He's only 25 years old, but this is his 6th year in Minnesota. He's been doing this for a long time for these guys. And I love watching him play because the nights when he's shooting it well, you really can envision the Minnesota Timberwolves like doing some damage in the postseason. And that last was one of those nights, even though it was Portland and, they're missing Avdija, so it's like a different look for the Blazers. The way that they won the game and the way that they had to go to it when their best player was not shooting well in the second half impressed me.
Well, the big question, the ball just has to find him, to your point. It's not that you're giving him the ball to ISO. It's just that the ball needs to get moving. There needs to be energy in the offense, and then he's a guy that can attack those, scrambled defenses, and he can do it at a high level. The story for me, though, with Minnesota, well, first of all, it's that defense does not come effortless to them anymore, and it's why I wonder if they're as good of a defensive team as we recall. They're almost on reputation. Now, they statistically are a top 10 defense, but I thought that in years past, previous iterations, that was their calling card. There's a two-way team now, and they're as much an offensive team to me as they are a defensive team, but they do have one flaw that I think is somewhat fatal, and that is I don't know if they have or at least know how to utilize all of their ball handlers. Anthony Edwards Portland's a team that's going to get into you. They're going to pressure you, and they're going to try to speed you up. Anthony Edwards crushed that in the first half, but I thought he wore down. And so in the second half, it's like, okay, who can take that off his plate so he can play the half-court game? And I still don't know if they know who that is. Dante DiVincenzo a little bit. Ayo Dosunmu has not quite figured out where he fits in right now. Bones Highland can be a little up and down. I think that's a big question is if you pressure them, this used to be their MO, pressure you and they're going to speed you up. Right now, I think they're a team that can get sped up and gassed and don't know how to handle it when you force somebody else besides Ant to make the plays.
That's a good point. I think one of the things I saw last night in the second half, and it's just tiring, and I don't like when Minnesota plays this way, and most teams with their best player. When he comes up the floor and tries to run some initial action for himself, get that high ball screen, maybe gets downhill a little bit, or he's thinking about the step back, but it's not there, and then he passes it to the wing, and then he basically retreats out toward half court to get it again and do that again. And now you're inside 10 seconds on the clock. And it's become so like Anthony Edwards centric in those moments. You no wonder he's going to get tired. And also, I think there are opportunities because the defense is starting to get extended as he goes out there to catch it a second time. There are driving angles to be had, and there are some guys that can go make plays. But I think, like a lot of teams in this league, like you fall into that trap of it's got to go back there. And so even though he tried to get something for himself initially, and the defense did a good job on it, well, you give it up and let those guys now go play. Great players, it's like a magnet. You're going to go back out there and drift out and get it again. You see Luka do this all the time. Makes a play, kicks it out, no shot. What does Luka do?
Straight
Basically, he puts his hand out, he goes out and he catches it at 35 feet. And now he's got to do it all over again, but on a much shorter clock. That is tiring. And I think Anthony Edwards is doing some of that in the fourth quarter of this game at a time when he wasn't really in great rhythm. Now, great players are always going to continue to hunt their shots. What I think what you and I are saying is there more there around him for other guys to potentially go make plays and really make teams pay if they want to play him a certain way? And I thought there were some opportunities for that in the second half.
Well, the solution to it is to have Ayo Dosunmu be a little bit more comfortable. And right now, he has not had a very good, tenure. It's obviously early days. But I like this pickup because he gives them perimeter defense that I think they needed another guy. But the other side was that he would give you something on offense. And at his best, I think he's like a quicker player. Catches the ball and is like getting downhill. Ball swings, he catches it, and he's putting pressure on the paint. He hasn't feel like his game is very slow right now. Probably just getting acclimated to a new team, but it's something to watch because I actually think is one of the reasons I made him one of my most interesting players of the second half of the year is because I think they need him to be an offensive force in order for them to be a real contender.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, for him that it does take time. It just everything's different. Everything's strange, and like when you finally shed the self-consciousness of like trying to fit in, that's when you finally will break through and you'll have some freedom, and it'll come for him. But right now, new teammates, new system, new head coach, you're trying to please everybody. Yeah. It's more than just going out there and just playing and being yourself, even though I'm certain that's the constant encouragement he's getting from his head coach, from Anthony Edwards, from his teammates. Right? That's why they acquired him. It doesn't matter, like especially for a young player, like you're trying to you really want everybody to like the way you play. And so you're not just out there playing free. He found that on Chicago. He found that freedom where every night now, because he had a breakthrough, and it's like every night now, everyone in the building was looking for him to do those things. Right now, he's still kind of processing who he's playing with and what the coach wants to run and where's he supposed to be on this set and all those things. So it will come. It's a very condensed season. When you go at the trading deadline in this league, you come out of that, takes a few days, you don't even play, then sometimes the All-Star break hits, and then you come back. You look up and you've got like 20 plus games, and you've barely even gotten to know these guys. So it's unfortunate for him. Like you now got to make it happen quicker so you're more of a factor for them in the playoffs, but I'm confident it will.
Last guy, real quickly, I want to touch on is for the Portland side of things, Jonathan Clingan is really interesting. This stat line feels like a big guy stat line, like a very good big guy stat line. 11 points, 16 boards, 3 steals, 2 blocks. It's a great defensive double-double. Oh, but let's just add 5 assists on there and 2 of 4 from the three-point line. This guy kind of has both traditional big man rim protection, play big skill sets, but then he also has this other part where he can throw the backdoor pass and he can knock down the pick and pop 3. He's so young, Legs. I find myself really fascinating by what he can become because he is a mixture of both new and old school big.
Totally agree with you. Look at just this month, his numbers. 15 points, 13.5 boards, 2.5 blocks, 46% from the three-point line, 55% from the field, and 3+ assists. I mean, that's
crazy.
That's a monster. That's a monster, versatile, across-the-board stat line and how you're affecting the game. And he's just so damn big. Like, there aren't many guys that are on the court that typically look like as big as Rudy Gobert. Yeah. And yet you watch it last night, and you're like, man, this guy's just as big. And he's physical, and he's really, really smart. And the fact that he's already, like, come into the league and understood, like, the way the league is set up now, you have to really turn yourself into a guy that can be a threat when you're left alone at the 3-point line. Because otherwise your opportunities are so – look at Gobert. We talked about the night he had. This is a center, traditional center. He has such an impact on the game. He had 4 shots in the entire game. And most of those came in that stretch in the fourth quarter off putbacks. So Clingan is a guy that understands, man, if you're a big guy now, you can't just be screen rim run, offensive rebound, because there's going to be too many possessions. You're not included. So he's understood, how do I get more shots? I've got to be able to extend my range because there's going to be certain matchups. They're not going to leave the paint. They're not going to rotate to me. I have to be able to take and make this shot. 46% for the month of February is pretty good for a guy that size to go with 15 points, 13 plus rebounds.
Yeah, and he has a good sense of when to take them and when not to, which I think for young guys, when they start to get the green light from 3, that's tough. I think he has a good sense of that one. Let's get to some quick hitters from the box score last night, Legs. Zion Williamson goes for 26 and 6, but here's the big note. It's his 43rd game played this season. That's the 3rd most of his career. I feel like that's gone very under the radar, in part because New Orleans hasn't been super relevant, but already the 3rd most games of his career for Zion. Does that mean anything to you?
It's my prayers answered. I want Zion Williamson to play, and I want him to stay healthy, and I want to see what he's capable of doing for a full season on a good team. That's what I'm hoping for. And the reason it's gone under the radar, it hasn't been talked about. They've got 17 wins. And so that's the biggest reason why, you're not going to notice that as much, but I'm glad you brought it up. How many games do they have left? They've got 23 games left. Yeah. 23 games left. He's played how many? 43?
43. Yep.
I don't know if he'll play all 23. Let's say he plays 20, man. He gets to north of 60 games with the way the season started for him. And most importantly, ends the season without something physically that he's got to go address in the summer.
Right.
It makes a big difference to your off season. And then, then you go and you put the work in and you make sure you maintain your weight and you work harder than you've ever worked because your body feels right coming out of the season. So you're ready to go at the start of the season next year. And that's what we want to see from Zion Williamson because he is a huge difference maker. Glad you brought it up. It is something that a lot of people probably aren't paying attention to because he wasn't playing at the beginning of the year and they immediately became a bottom feeder team. So you stop paying attention, but that's a worthy note that you just brought up.
Well, here's my guy from last night, and it's really my guy right now. Cason Wallace, 27, 8, and 7, 4 of 5 from 3. You get Shea out. We talked about this. All those guys are out. Cason Wallace has been the guy that has taken over for this OKC team who's still not losing. I can't believe how good this guy is, man. He is so fun to watch, and he is so confident right now as an offensive hub. 22 years old. He's only 22, and he's gotten so much better offensively. He's taken 46 shots in the last 3 games. He was a guy at one point basically only shot the ball if he had an open 3. He was known for pressuring the ball up the floor. That's how he was earning 20 minutes a night. Occasionally he could do some stuff in transition, but as far as handling the ball in the half court or doing more than just limited stuff offensively, it wasn't really there. It's now gotten there because they've had not only to play without Shea and Jalen Williams, they've had every night they've had multiple guards out. Doesn't matter. They got Cason Wallace
season long. Yeah. And Cason Wallace now, as a result, he's gotten more opportunities. I think it's going to pay dividends, Adam. I think it's going to pay real dividends for them in the postseason. To have another guy that is now much more comfortable being a high-volume shot taker on nights when that's what's required, I think that's really important to go along with just elite-level pressure defense.
And this game mirrored – I actually watched the end of this game last night. This one mirrored the Portland one in that it got close and you kind of wondered, okay, what's going to happen? And the answer was Cason Wallace kept getting to the rim. I mean, just acting like a true star of the team in that moment. Jonathan Kuminga, your guy, might have to rebuy some stock here. 27, 7, and 4 with 2 steals last night with his new team. Are we intrigued with the new look Jonathan Kuminga?
And that was his first game. And, listen – There's going to be constant Jonathan Kuminga watching because of how fascinating, and dramatic his story became in Golden State. And I often referred to it as a 4-year audition. It felt like he was always just out there trying to prove himself. And even when the times when they threw him a bone, like at the start of the season when Steve Kerr said, he's earned to be our starter. He's our starter. And I was like, hey, he's good to go now. And then, of course,
we bought it 4 games in.
Yeah. And at one point, completely benched. Then they trade him. And look, I don't know what this is going to look like every night, but I do know this. He's got a lot of talent. And in a system, I think, that requires less read and react, the way Golden State's offense is set up, which is predicated on quick movements, a lot of guard splits, flare screens, back cuts, even if you're not open, to create space. Like everything about it has got to become instinctive, and it's much more decision-based in the half court, quick decisions. And with Jonathan Kuminga, he always kind of stood out because he wants to play a different way. And maybe in Atlanta, he's going to get more of those opportunities and let his talent shine. And the consistency maybe will be there with minutes and touches and shots. And it's going to be a 20-plus game sample size to see how he finishes the year in Atlanta, a team that, is hovering right around 500. So they might be playing some meaningful games later in the year. But I'm excited to see what it looks like if somebody just goes, hey, man, go play 25 minutes and be yourself. And last night you got a little glimpse of that.
And the athleticism between him and Jalen Johnson is special, for the wing. Like there's at least one super elite skill set there, just the athleticism that it's at least intriguing to watch. Before we wrap up the show and get to our fan duels of the night, I wondered if you could break down a play for me, Legs. And this play comes from over the weekend, where I had maybe my favorite father weekend day of the year. My 9-year-old, who I always brag about, had this play in her it was, let me set the stage for you, Legs. Double overtime, and at 9 years old, sudden death. Next basket's going to win. And we get into this one of the championship game. Play it real quick, Atticus.
Good. Get open. You're strong. Hold on. Take the floor. Good.
Oh, yeah, power screen. Get big. Nothing better, man. Absolutely nothing better.
Nothing better. The best part of the whole thing was running courtside to find her dad.
That's the best. That's the best.
In arms. I was fortunate enough to coach both of my children hundreds of games, over the course of their youth careers, and each had game-winning shots at the buzzer along the way. And there's just nothing feels better. The game that you love so much, that I love so much. And look, you don't know if your kids are going to love it. You certainly don't force it on them. But if they take a liking to it and it seems like they're having fun, to have a moment like that, doing something they love, but then also have that happen to them. And first of all, it cracks me up that the screen physicality level at that age, right? Like she set a great, technically perfect screen.
And they just kind of stop.
They just kind of just tap each other. Like that. And then she then dove right to the open pocket in the lane, high hands, gets the ball, no hesitation, understood time and score. Ball's got to go up quickly. She didn't try to put it on the floor. Yeah. She didn't bring it down below her waist. That's just excellent coaching on your part. And obviously she's got, ice running through her veins, man. She wasn't affected by the moment.
She actually does that one sometimes too. She'll give me the ice in the veins. I'm like, chill out a little bit. Chill out here a little bit. No, it's the best, man. It was absolutely awesome.
Can I tell you real quick? I got to tell you one. My son I think he was probably 10 years old. I was working one night about to do Sports Center, and he's playing a game, the championship game at his youth travel league. And another parent was videotaping the end of the game, and they're down 2. And he basically gets an inbounds pass, kind of dribbles toward the left wing, shoots about a 25-foot shot at the buzzer to win the game. Pandemonium breaks out, and the guy recorded the whole thing. He sent it to me. I was up in Bristol, Connecticut. I was so mad I wasn't there, but so proud at the same time. But I reached out to the Sports Center people doing top 10. I was like, hey man, you guys think you can squeeze this one in tonight? And they squeezed it into the top 10. My son hitting a 3. It was awesome. It was so awesome because you know what the next play was? So it was my son hitting a 3. I don't even remember what number it was in the list. It was probably 5 or 6 in the top 10. The very next one was a steal breakaway, 360 by Blake Griffin. I was like, this little guy. So I know the feeling, man. It's such an awesome thing, particularly because, you just, you love the game so much. Your family loves it. My family loved it. And then they get this moment, man. They feel so good about themselves. And the best part by far was her running and finding you and jumping in your arms, man. That was awesome.
It's the absolute best, man. I'm telling you. Youth sport. I've never thought I'd be this into 9-year-old girls basketball, but it's the absolute best. I look forward to every single one. Let's get to some super chats here before we hit our fan duels of the night and talk about your upcoming game. Johnny Keene here says, hey, Adam, does Leg see LeBron going to Cleveland next year? Also found Greg Kramer's music from this pod. Talented guy. Thanks a million for a great pod. Greg Kramer, you can find him on Spotify and YouTube. He is a fantastic musician. He does the intro for our show, which everybody loves. Do you see LeBron going to Cleveland next year?
I don't know, man. I can't predict something.
You don't like this kind of prediction, reckless speculation.
I hate that stuff because you predict it and then you're people think you want to go viral for some prediction. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he knows, man. I don't know. I do think that he's going to continue to play. I don't think he's going to walk away from the game over the summer. I do think he's going to play. Some of that might be predicated on what happens in the postseason this year with this team.
I think this question comes because our friend Bill Simmons was bringing this up about I don't see it happening. They have a team already. They'd have to lose one of these major pieces. And that makes sense to me. It does seem like, hey, they're building something that doesn't necessarily seem to be waiting for LeBron. So we'll see what happens.
Listen, I will say this. The day that they acquired Luka, it was much more for me about the next 10 years for the Laker franchise than it was about whatever they can get out of Luka and LeBron pairing. And I mean that. Now, if you can win in the meantime with those two guys, great. And they hired JJ Redick to come in, and he's first-time head coach, so he's kind of learning too. And if you can win, great. But that's not really what that trade was about. That trade was about at post LeBron, really. I mean, because you got to set yourself up. You have this series of great players. Lakers always have one of those guys. Now they got their next one as LeBron is winding down his career. And the team that they're going to build around Luka is going to look a lot different than what they have now. Because the one thing Luka has proven is what he's capable of if you surround him with a team that's great defensively, and they've got guys that are given one other really high-level offensive player, and then give him some three-point shooters, couple rim runners, but guys that defend and let him just be the focus of everything. He's shown you what he's capable of. He took a team to the finals with that formula. And that's what the Lakers were thinking about when they acquired him. I don't know, I don't know how long LeBron wants to continue to play. Does he want to continue to play in LA? Does he want 1 year to go out to Cleveland? No one really knows that. He's still playing at a really high level. I know that. He's still got a lot in the tank, man. He's still a really high-level NBA player, highly productive, and a problem for defenses. So I hope he does play another year. I don't know what his intentions are.
I honestly think he's got like 3 or 4 more in him if he wants them.
It's kind of crazy.
I know. He just doesn't.
There's no reason to think he couldn't play like 3 more years if he wants to, the way he looks physically. The question is going to come down to, with these guys, and this is unprecedented for LeBron. So I say these guys, very few guys have entered this territory. Late 30s, approaching 40 years old, can still do it at this level. But what it's going to come down to is at some point, LeBron James, the season's going to end, whenever that is, and he's going to have to ask himself, do I want to go commit the next 3 to 4 months of the conditioning and all of the things I have to do to get ready for another season? At some point, I think it hits guys. You just don't know if you're up for that anymore.
Yeah.
That part of it. You're still going to love playing in the games. Are you going to do the 4-month work that you have to when there's nobody in the stands? Are you willing to go do that at some point, man? When you've done it as long as he has, it's going to be a question that's going to be harder to answer yes to. I don't think that's here now.
Me neither.
But that ultimately will be, I think, what the reasoning is. I just don't know if I'm up for another off season of dedicating myself to it the way that I have my entire career for 20 plus years.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how long that lasts. We have one other one here. This comes from the eye test. He says, just wanted to say that the Hawks are going to the conference finals. Jalen Johnson and Kuminga are going to take over. Well, there's the hype for you. 1 win. We've flipped the narrative, Legs.
I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet. Listen, I'm pulling for Kuminga. Everybody knows that. And I love Jalen Johnson. But, I mean, I think that might have been some tongue-in-cheek talk right there.
A little bit.
Right now, the rest of the Eastern Conference has to figure out how to close the gap with the Detroit Pistons because they are clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference. And I'm going to see him tonight, man. Courtside, OKC, Detroit. You know how excited I am to call this game tonight? Because I know OKC's missing Shea. So you would have had Shea versus Cade.
Yeah, could have been great.
We're still going to get the two best defensive teams in the league, two best records in the league, and potentially, because they play again in a few weeks, home court advantage in the NBA Finals could potentially come into play with these results. So this is a huge game. And one thing about OKC they've shown, no matter who's playing for them, they're going to play hard. I expect this to be one of the most physical games I've seen all year, and I cannot wait to be at the arena tonight for Detroit. I'm in Detroit hosting OKC. That's going to be great.
And Detroit kind of needs a win here because as great as they are, I thought their loss to the Spurs the other night was kind of meaningful, because you always want to see what happens when the two best teams stack up. And you go up against San Antonio and kind of get manhandled. If you saw that game, Cade Cunningham, I think he was like 5 of 26 or something, just shot horribly in that game. So tonight, another great defense, part of this West Coast, West Coast teams coming into your building. I feel like it's meaningful. So you got a great
let me say one thing. I think that for Cade Cunningham, who's had an incredible year, I think he's going to be first team all league. He's going to get MVP consideration. I think what really elevated him and thrust him into the public consciousness as far as MVP consideration was the game he had against the Knicks. A handful of nights ago. Because everybody was looking at that game because they had dominated the Knicks the first two times. Now here it is, Madison Square Garden. Everybody's playing. That was one of the best individual performances I've seen all season. 42 points, 13 assists. He did whatever he wanted to physically in that game. And I think there were so many eyeballs on it because of the matchup, because it's the Knicks. They always draw a big audience. And to play like that, I think he did more good for himself maybe in that game as he had the entire season. Now it's like, okay, this is a real thing. Like Cade Cunningham is going to get MVP votes. There's no question about it. And I think tonight's game would be another one. I know it would be even bigger if Shea was playing. Then they go head-to-head, and the two best teams go head-to-head. But even without Shea, to do it against this Thunder defense, if he has a huge night tonight and they win the game, again, he's kicking that thing down the road, and he's just eating into that space that has been reserved for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Jokic.
It's true.
Cade Cunningham is now thrust himself into that conversation. This is another big stage for him.
And a big game for OKC. They're only 2 games in the loss column up on San Antonio. This is a tough game, obviously. So you lose this one, it becomes 1 game. That conversation will pick up in earnest here down the stretch. What else do we have from our FanDuel duels of the night? What else do we have here? San Antonio, Toronto is a good game. San Antonio's favored here, even though they're on the road, but this could be a good win for Toronto. Warriors, Memphis, okay. Sacramento, Houston, no. Cleveland at Milwaukee. Yeah, that one's meaningful. It's kind of interesting. And then Boston at Denver. Denver has to get a win, Legs. Boston is on the second night of a back-to-back. They rested Jaylen Brown last night and got the win at Phoenix. This is their 5th game of a 5-game East Coast swing. Denver, meanwhile, has had 3 days off to prepare for this game. Denver has to win tonight, in my opinion. You tell me not to panic, but I'm telling you, they just lost to the very short-handed Warriors. There's just something off. They need to settle right the ship.
Well, you had them basically hanging off a cliff after they lost to the Clippers.
And they lost to this Warriors team too, though.
157 points in
Portland. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, you felt a little better about yourself. And now you're back again. What a roller coaster with you, man. My goodness. So, listen, you're right.
Hey, that's bad. That's bad. They lost to the Warriors. That's a terrible one.
You kind of just quickly glossed over this. That's a really good win for the Celtics. I know that Phoenix didn't have Devin Booker, but they didn't have Jaylen Brown, and they held Phoenix, who's been one of the best stories in the league, to like 80 points. So that was a really meaningful game for them. Big performances. Sam Hauser, Cato was great in that game. Derek White was great in that game. And so now you get, listen, shorthanded. I hear what you're saying. Every night, I think, from this point forward for you is going to be some statement that's going to be made one way or the other with the Denver Nuggets.
Well, they got Oklahoma. They have San Antonio and Minnesota. Oklahoma City and Minnesota coming up over the weekend. So Denver has a bit of a statement 3-game stretch here and it all starts tonight. That does it. Cue that outro music for us there, Atticus. We hope you guys enjoyed the show, talking real hoops, breaking down the games, no fluff, just really getting into the weeds of what's going on in the NBA. We are back on Friday, though. Legs is on the call tonight, as he mentioned, for watching that Detroit game. But after that, we are back Friday, breaking down a great Thursday night slate. Make sure you don't miss it by being subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, and leave us a comment below. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.